Live from Latrobe Motorsports Studios, this is Ride Along with Howie, from the fast half-mile track at Latrobe Speedway, where it's grassroots racing at its finest. Here's Howie.
Race fans, who's ready to go for a ride? It's time for Ride Along with Howie, sponsored by Joe's Body Shop and Towing and S&B Promotion. And tonight, we got a special guest. It is the Frazee Racing Team Junior Division. As the car is piloted by 19-year-old Ryan and co-crew chief by his two sisters, who are both under the age of 23? 25, I'm sorry, Jenna. And they come to the track, and they're one of the top crate late model teams in Western Pennsylvania. And hey, guys, thanks for going for a ride, and sorry to interrupt your vacation, but we appreciate you guys taking time out to do this.
Of course.
So here's what we're going to do. This is kind of like a get-to-know interview. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and you guys are from, is it Farmington or Addison? I apologize. Addison, which is right next to Farmington, up on the mountain there. And a lot of fun activities to do. In the summer, you guys can go quad riding, motorcycle riding. You got the lake, and in the winter, snowmobiling and all sorts of stuff. So you guys were always very active outside. And I think it was when Ryan was 11, he got the bright idea to ask mom and dad if he could go drive a race car. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. I think my dad wanted me to race a little bit too. I was racing quads when I was, younger than that, but it come to a point where, we were mostly going to stuff and just doing that. But, I finally got on a 450 and Yamaha, and we were getting pretty fast on those, and it was just, they were a little more dangerous. And, I see a lot of people and hear a lot of people breaking their arms and their legs over it. And so we just decided to get into a car, and I kind of wanted to, though. I watched some people, race, and like Mason Ziegler and them, and it was pretty cool to me. And so I wanted to start out in a late model, but they're a little bit more expensive. Especially with shocks and tires and things like that, they cost a lot more than what a Charger or a pure stock did at the time. And we wanted to make sure that I wanted to do it too, so we decided to start out in a Charger car and worked our way up from there.
Now, how did you just convince your parents at 11 years old, you know what, it's a good idea, let's put me in a car? I can't drive on the street for the next 5 years, but I could practice for that up until then, right?
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I've been driving, I was driving trucks and stuff when I was really young. I mean, not necessarily all the time on the road, but, I've been around, stuff that has four wheels and tires on it for a long time. So it wasn't nothing super new to me, but the racing part was, and, I got the hang of it, I'd say, pretty quickly. And then we decided we wanted to do it. And the more time I put into it, it seemed like I put a lot of time into it. So I knew it was something I wanted to do. And so we decided to go ahead and go with it. And I think I raced Chargers for 2 years, I believe. And then I raced we bumped up to a straight stock for like half a year. And then Michael, one night my dad was talking to his dad, and he said he didn't care. He said I could get in his car after, he was done racing, and he ended up, believe he won that night. And then I got in, and it was totally different. It was, the steering in these late models are so quick, it's just totally different. It's not like just a regular car you drive up and down the road. And but I got in it, and we had phones, we was stuffing in there, and whatever we had, I was a lot smaller than he is, but no, after I drove it a couple laps, it was just night and day difference, and it was something I knew that I wanted to get into. And we made the funds work, and ended up getting in a late model. And then I raced at Roaring Knob, I would say, for probably a year, and I think I might have went to Dog Hollow once, and then, you know, we ended up getting decent in it at Roaring Knob, and then I realized when I traveled around that I wasn't as good. But the reason is because I didn't know necessarily. I raced at one track, and I had one setup that I knew would work, and we didn't travel around. So when we did travel around, we weren't that good for a while. But it also made me a lot better driver too. And then I went to Florida, and I think I might have been after my first year racing a late model, and we weren't that good. I mean, we went to Bubba Raceway Park in Ocala, Florida, and we were racing with Hudson O'Neill and them, and he drove a crate car and stuff down there, and Corey Allman was down there, and there was a lot of good guys, Kyle Bronson, Mark Whitener, but then that was a time where I didn't know a lot, but that's how I learned a lot. And I've went racing, I still do when I can with Mason and them a lot, and I just learn a lot. It's good to get out and travel around. I love traveling around. I really like going to different racetracks. Honestly, if I could, I would every time. But with the expenses, we haven't done it as much this year. Try to stay a little bit more around home. But we ran the Rush Tour, I would say, I think 2 full years. We ran it 2019. And last year we ran it. 3 years, I guess, but they had to COVID the 1 year, so we didn't. It wasn't. A lot of them got canceled and stuff. We went to Canada, we went to Florida, and it was fun. I definitely learned a lot. Track to track, we went. I don't know, that 1 year we probably went to 30 or 40 different racetracks, and you adapt to them, I guess, after a while. But we seem to get better. It definitely helped a lot, but it costs a lot. But in the long run, it's worth it if you can do it, because it makes you a lot better of a driver too.
And one thing that maybe your parents wanted is they wanted it to be a family team. And what I mean by that is your dad was driving the hauler around, your mom was there doing the paperwork, and your sisters, they weren't afraid. They would jump in and they were doing tires and trying to work on the setup of the car. And that was just one thing. I know, like, people come over and try to offer, but your family, your parents were very protective. They wanted you guys to do this as a family. And, it's crazy to think that you go to the track at 19 and you got your 2 sisters, and that's it. And you guys are out there putting a top-notch crate late model out on the track. And, it just says a lot, because it's not like your parents were racing all these years and Julie and Jenna were raced into this. If I remember right, Julie, you were, I don't know if you still are, but you were a very good softball player in high school, and Jenna, you were athletic and into different stuff in high school, but you guys all blended around this racing, and really, like, I don't want to say this to sound dumb, but stepped up and almost became like Ryan's protector on the track.
Oh yeah. It's just what we had to do, Howie. I mean, when Ryan started racing, it became every weekend thing, and it just was, a family thing. And we grew up going to the racetrack at Roaring Knob together, and so when he started racing, it was just kind of a no-brainer that we would just be there and try to help him out as much as we could.
What did you two think when here's Ryan going to your parents and saying, you know what do you think about a race car?
It was a lot different at first, because we raced like just at Roaring Knob, and it wasn't like a as competitive thing. I think we were there to have fun. We were there to learn. We didn't know what we were doing, at first. Like you said, we weren't just born into it. And then once he wanted to run the Rush Tour, I was like, well, you're in with the big dogs, and you're competing for, that first spot for points, which like you are at any track. And that's when we really learn a lot, because it's hot laps, qualifying, heat races, dash, B main, feature. It's a full thing. So once we started realizing, we could run up there. We were pretty good and stuff. And I knew Ryan, he caught on. He's so smart. Like, he knows so much about shocks and setups and stuff, and he's learned a lot through the years. But it was just totally different when my dad passed away, because he did. I didn't realize how much he did until, and I'm sure they can say the same, till he wasn't there anymore, you know. And like Ryan, I don't know how he does it, but he drives to the track. He works on the car all week. You know, we are there for race day and for loading up, and like some a little bit through the week. But I mean, Julie's in grad school and I work 2 jobs, so it's just, I mean, we're very tight knit and very close. And once he passed, we got even closer, and it was just like, okay, I don't know anything about tires and, you know, working on the car and stuff like that. We basically before just did like fuel and girls cleaned the car basically. And now we do all the stuff my dad would do pretty much, you know, except for some stuff. And, you know, it's just, we had to jump in there, and I'm proud of us. We're small but mighty. I'm telling you what, we have learned a lot through the last, especially 2 years. And I mean, Ryan's got a good car and he's a good driver, and I'm proud of him, and I love what we do, and racing is our life. We do it 8 months of the year pretty much, and we've been from, like he said, Canada to Florida and everywhere in between. But it's a lot of fun, and we bond, and we're there to win, but we're there to have fun too. And I mean, he's got 4 wins this year, 3 at Latrobe, 1 at Dog Hollow, and we're looking for that 5th this weekend, huh?
Yeah.
Did you ever think when you guys were younger that out of everything, like I said, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing you, Jenna, when you were in high school, but I remember talking to Julie because I was the announcer at Roaring Knob, and when Ryan started, she was the bigger sister. And I remember talking a couple times. You were just like worried because it was, you know, Ryan was small, and, you know, I mean, you're tall now, but I think soaking wet, you're probably about 82 pounds, and you're getting strapped into a race car. And it's like, Julie's like, what is this going to be like? And I'm like, we're going to find out if he really wants to race. And one thing that I will give your parents credit for is financially, they could have went out and bought Ryan a top-notch car. And what they did is they went out and bought him a safe car. And remember the first 11, I think it was yellow. Am I right on the color of the car?
No, it was black. I think it might have had yellow in it. Are you talking about the Charger?
Yeah, the first Charger.
Yeah.
Not the one you got off Rozak, the first one.
I bought my first car off Eric Miller. I believe it was black, and it might have had a little bit of yellow in it. And we just put 11 on. I literally just spray painted 11F on the side of it on a Saturday morning. I believe we might have picked it up on a Saturday morning. And, like, we literally loaded it up on a gooseneck trailer that we used with a Dodge pickup that we used during the week to work and to make money with. And that was, like I said, that was when we didn't know if I really wanted to race yet or not, or if I wanted to do it just to go out and have fun. But now I'm at the point now that I do it to have fun, but I take it pretty serious. And I don't, when I go racing, normally I'm in it. I'm there to win races. I mean, I like the points deal for the Tour Series and things like that. But even the leaders, people are even running the Tour and stuff, and even guys in Lucas Oil and Outlaws, they'll even tell you they're just, they always say they worried about points. They are, but they're there to win races, So it's just, we haven't really traveled around much. It's on Fridays to race around. I went to Dog Hollow twice, and the first time we went, we won. The second time, we started, I think, 6th, and we finished 4th. Started dead last in the heat race because of pill draw, and then they start straight for the feature, and it was kind of hard to pass in the feature. But I like to travel around more. I'm gonna try the rest of the year on Fridays, and I like hitting the big money races, but like on Saturdays at Latrobe, they've had a lot of big paying races, so it's kind of hard to to go to different places on Saturdays whenever we have $1,500 and $2,000 to win, within an hour and a half of my house. So I try to. This year I've been trying to go, like Dog Hollow Friday has $1,500 to win, so we'll be there and just try to go to the big money races and try to make as much as we can and get some wins.
Ryan, you graduated high school last year and jumped into the family business, R.W. Frazee Incorporated, which there's many divisions, but I know trucking is one of the bigger ones, if I'm correct. And, you're out on the road. Your mom stepped up and she's running the RW Frazee Incorporated. But I just know it's neat that on the weekends you and your sisters are doing something that's all love to do as a family. And I kind of feel for your sister Jenna because, you know, when you talk about a woman involved in racing, it's normally her husband and son may be racing against each other. Jenna has her brother, who obviously she loves very much, and her fiance out there in the same division. And, you know, you guys were talking about your small and mighty. A couple weeks ago, we had those twin features, and you got a flat tire, and we were on the radio saying, you know, you pit up towards the top of the pit exit, we'll call it. So we were on the radio saying, hey, Frazee got a flat right rear. And John Smiley got on the radio. He goes, the crew's here. And we're like, whose crew? And he's like, his crew. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we went over to try to help him, and one of them pushed Walt out of the way. Somebody grabbed a jack, got the car jacked up, and your two sisters changed your tire and got you back out there. And, you know, we thought it was a bunch of other people coming down to help. And then we found out afterwards it was your sisters, and that was it. And, you know, I feel bad for Jenna because when you got two top running cars like you have, Ryan and Michael, it's like, who do you cheer for? You know?
Yeah, it's every week I feel like I need to put on heart medication because usually, I mean, Michael and Ryan are both very good, very competitive, and they both usually run pretty close together. I know they're the best friends. I mean, Ryan's the best man in the wedding, and you know, he had partial credit in hooking Michael and I up because he was like, just go on a date with him. You'll like him. I'm telling you. But they're best friends. They race each other hard, but I know they're going to race each other clean, obviously. It still scares me and worries me because, you know, they're both, I mean, they're going so fast around there. I mean, especially at Latrobe, it's a big track, but it's hard. Michael's very understanding though. I mean, he knows that. I mean, honestly, Ryan parks at one end of the track, Michael's at the other. They both have big haulers. It's hard to find, you know, it's hard to really park next to each other at Latrobe especially, but I mean, I see him, you know, good luck in lineup area, and that's just about it until the race is over. I mean, I work on Ryan's car with him, and I made a promise to my dad, and I will keep that. I said I would not leave Ryan at a race with no help, and I made that promise. I know Julie did too, and I would no regrets. And Michael, once my dad passed away, you know, he knew that was that was one of the deals that I made, and he knows that that's how it'll be. I would never leave him without help. I know Michael has his dad, and we miss ours, and we do the best we can to make it work. And I mean, if it's not one, it's the other that I want to win, that's for sure. But I'm a protective sister, and I love these two very much. So.
How about you, Julie? Does this racing satisfy your appetite for competition? Like I said, I mean, not that I've known you that long, but you were a good softball player. You won a beauty contest.
Yeah, I definitely miss, like, you know, competing and just being out on the field like myself. When Ryan started racing, he actually took my softball number. 11 was my number. And so that was really nice for me to have that, you know, kind of passing down something to my brother. And, you know, of course, now he changed his number to 17 to honor my dad, which I definitely love still. But it definitely is, you know, a lot of competition. Even if I'm not the one in the car, you know, he's still my little brother, and I still am, you know, living through him and just being there working on the car. And like you had mentioned earlier, when he got that flat, you know, that's go time for me and Jenna. That's just as much of, you know, us being on the track then at that moment is making sure he gets back out there. So, you know, it is a little bit, it's definitely different, but it is still competition. So I definitely still enjoy that aspect.
Now, has the opportunity ever presented itself for one of you, being Jenna or Julie, to get behind the wheel of a race car, or you guys neither one want to do that?
I actually got in, I don't know if it was yours or Michael's first.
Michael's.
in Michael's car at Roaring Knob on a Sunday. They were practicing, and I took it out there. And Michael's dad said he was so excited. He said, "If you can't shut it off, just stop on the track, and I'll come take care of it." I said, "If I'm getting the car on it, I'll get it off. I promise. I'll meet you in the pits." And I get out there, and he did not think I was going to be able to do it. I put it in high gear, and man, I went, and I wasn't going as fast as they go, but I thought, this is cool. I got in his, and his car felt like, I don't use the same terminology as them probably, but it felt tight. So I'm driving it. I felt like I could steer it. Everything felt good. And then I got in Ryan's car, and I fishtailed sideways, and I said, man, his car is set up completely different than Michael's. It was so different, but it was a lot of fun. My dad thought that was the coolest thing that I did that. But after that, I don't know if anybody knows Nathan Lint, but he raced with LJ Dennis, and he's friends of our family, and he helped Ryan get his Charger started up, and he loves helping him, come and hanging out. He's, a lot older now, but he told me once he heard I drove one of the cars, he said, "I'll help you put together a street stock. I would love that. You're competitive. You'd be great out there." I said, "I can't leave Ryan. That would be fun for me. I'm real competitive too. We all three are." And I said, "I can't leave him, but it would be pretty cool to race." But I just love helping them, and, watching them do what they love is a lot of fun to me. And when the races get canceled, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, when it's winter, I'm like, it's the weekend. This is boring. We're supposed to be racing. I don't think my mom's heart could take it if she had another kid out on the track.
But have you ever thought about wanting to do it, or Julie, or that's not your thing?
Not really. I haven't really thought about it. I just, I like helping Ryan. And for me, my favorite part of racing was always just getting to spend time with my family, especially like with my dad. So I've been missing that a lot recently. When we would go on, the Rush tour, him and I would always, ride around on the quad and check out. He'd like to make new friends and just meet everybody and go buy some popcorn or something. So I really miss just spending time with him. But I think my favorite part is really just, being with my family.
You know what? I remember your dad. He was a great man, and he made friends everywhere he went.
He never met a stranger, that's for sure.
That is true. And I'll tell you a funny story. I'm not sure, Julie, if you were there. The first time Ryan ever raced at Latrobe, were you there that night?
I think
know Jenna was.
It was just me and him and the guy that was driving Ryan, because he couldn't drive the truck at the time, even like legally on the road. And the guy that drove us had never been around race cars ever. And it was just us, and we pulled in. I will never forget. We pulled up, and we called that truck Red Sled, and we pulled up in Red Sled with our red trailer, and everyone's looking at us like, who is the heck is that? And we got out, and it was just us, and they're probably thinking that's all the crew they brought. That's all we had.
Well, I remember Ryan got out on the track, and you won the heat race that night, and I had your dad's cell phone number, so there was a lap or two into the heat. So I called your dad's cell, and I said, "Hey, it's Howie. Don't say a word. You can listen to the heat race." And you ended up winning the heat. And I hung up, and I guess it was Jenna who ran back to the trailer to call mom and dad. And your mom was telling me Jenna called, and she's like, "Dad, you won't believe it. Guess how we did?" And your dad's like, "I heard you won the heat." You're like, "What?" And yeah, your dad had spies everywhere. And when the feature came out, I remember I did the same thing. I called him, got him on the phone, and Ryan won the feature. And I'm going down with my cell phone, and Ryan's all happy, just won the feature, first time ever at the track, major accomplishment, no matter what division or wherever. And I'm like, "Ryan, I know you're not going to believe me, but you have a call on line number 1." And you're like, "Who in the hell is calling your cell phone for me?" And I'm like, "Well, take it and find out." And it was your dad. And I'll just never, I couldn't see him, but I could see the smile on his face, if that makes any sense.
I know that meant a lot to him, Howie, and we always appreciated, you taking the time to just make that extra special for my dad. Like Jenna said, with me being in grad school, I think I had to miss that. Sometimes, with me working 2 jobs and being in school, I have a lot that comes up, and so I can't make it occasionally, but that was really special for him, so we appreciated that.
Well, if you give me your cell phone, I could always call you if you're not there. But
sounds good.
Hey, Ryan, let's get back to you. You mentioned earlier about Mason Ziegler, and it's kind of funny. I don't know if you realize he followed in a lot of Mason's footsteps. He ran motocross and quads and got out of them and got into the car racing. He was maybe a year or two older than you, but it's kind of cool when you're following in those footsteps. I know you've always been a fan of Mason's and a friend of his too.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad, I'm not sure how, but my dad met Fred, Mason's dad, and I know we went to Roaring Knob one night, and I was in the pickup. We were going home. I don't even know if I wasn't racing at this time. And my dad talked to him for a little bit, and he, talked to Mason a little bit there after they got done. He raced the Super that night at Roaring Knob. And one day or whatever, my dad said, maybe I should talk to him. And this is, I believe, when I was racing late models. Just started racing late models. So I started talking to him, and I got it hooked up with Mark Smith through Mason in a way because I didn't know who Mark Smith was at the time, but I went with Mason. He went and tested one night, and Mark Smith was there with him. And then we went out and ate afterwards and everything. And then Mason and Mark both treated me very well. Mark, I mean, if I ever need anything, he answers my phone call, or if I need shocks fixed in a hurry, he's only about half hour from my race shop, so it's really convenient, and he treats me very well. Mason, I mean, their whole family is really nice. Always been nice to me. Even his brother Freddie was always really nice to me. He had a diesel shop, and if I ever need anything with my pickup, he hooked me up. And his parents are really nice. They're just a really good family, and I'm very appreciative of him and his family and what Fred has done. I know one night I needed a part, and I think Rocket would have had it, but it was probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock that night on a Friday night, and it was actually the week after I got really tore up at Latrobe this year, and I found what I needed in the pits that Saturday after the heater, the feature, it was laying there still. And I called Fred. Mason was racing down south, and I called Fred, and he said, well, get a hold of Mason and see if he even has it. And I said, I think he does. I'm sure he does. So he let me in over at his race shop that night. And it was just a lot of, 15 minutes from my house, versus a little over an hour, right around an hour to Rocket. But they're just really good people. And, he's helped me a lot over the years. We kind of work together. And if I need help, I just call him, with setups and stuff. But, we just kind of work together to get us both better. And if we both try something, normally you can find speed quicker. And to be good in racing, and especially this late model racing and the people we race with around our area, Western Pennsylvania, we have a lot of tough competition. So just about anywhere you go, I mean, there's always at least 3 guys, 3 to 5 people that that could win on any given night. And a lot of times in the crate class, unless the track conditions just right, it can be hard to pass. And unless your car, it almost seems like with super racing, it's a little bit easy. Like, you don't have to be as spot on. And even Mason said that. He drove a crate car one night, and he said these things just don't have any motor that you have to be spot on to be really good and to win the race that night. If not, you're gonna you'll just get passed. So, but no, he's helped me a ton. Him and Mark both have, and all my sponsors really have treated me very well. And but no, I'm just definitely glad and very fortunate to have met him and them and everything, and glad I listened to my dad when he told me that I should talk to him. And he's always been good to me. And every time I'm not racing, if I'm able to, or I don't have any other commitments that I have to do, then I try to go with him racing. I learn a lot, and if I can help them out and kind of give back with him helping me with his knowledge and stuff, then I try to do that too, because try to give it back to him like he's to me. So just very fortunate, and maybe one day he'll let me drive one of his cars testing or something. He told me he would, so that'd be pretty cool. Like to drive a super, eventually race one day, but they're very expensive, with the motors and everything. So maybe one day, if I ever get the chance to, I can tell you, if it's good equipment, I will not turn it down. So.
Well, you got your own pit crew that travels with you, and who could turn down that opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's still tough. I try to, people might not understand with other people, but when you're the driver and you're the shock guy at the same time, you have to watch the track, and you really have to pay attention to if it's going to change or how many times it changes. I mean, it might, people, say that, oh, the track's slowing down. Well, is the moisture going to come back up through? How much water they put on it? Did they cheese foot it, or what's the humidity like? Is it damp? The temperatures. There's a lot of things play factors in that. And so I change the gears, track to track and things like that. But they take care of the tires and getting the mud off and making sure that the body's straight on it and everything while I'm watching the racetrack. So when I come back, I can adjust on the race car accordingly to what the track needs, what the car needs to be on the racetrack to win the race. Like I said, we're there to win. I'm there to win races. So I take it pretty serious. After we're done racing, that's when I don't mind, hanging out and talking and everything. But we do it as a family, but at the same time, I take it pretty serious. So on the racetrack, I don't give it all, but I try to, be a clean driver and respectful driver. But no, just try to. They're a big help. But when I do have a guy that there's a guy that come the other night to help me, and he never cut tires before, so I showed him how to cut a tire because it was just me there, and I was kind of behind with work and trying to get the race car ready, and was pretty busy. And I showed him how to groove a tire, and he helped me do that. And he's going to start coming to the races, I think, and maybe helping a little bit when he can. His wife has a kid on the way, so. But no, I've had some help. It makes it easier, especially whenever you have someone there that has drove a race car. You ask them what the car is like. Most people don't know what to say. So when somebody's drove a car, they know what it needs. What it looks like on a racetrack. That helps a ton. So when Nathan and Sarah come help, and Justin and his wife Skylar came to watch and stuff, and I think he's going to come help me this weekend a little bit if he can. So, but no, on the shock end and the driving the stuff, I do that because it's pretty complicating, and there's a lot to that, and that's just something that you can't just jump right into. You gotta learn as you go. And I remember for a long time I raced, didn't have a spring smasher, and with not having a spring smasher, when you adjusted my shocks, I had to make sure that when I went back to what I started at, I put them back accordingly, and I didn't forget where I was at. Where with a spring smasher, it helps a ton. You don't have to, where you're at the end of the night, but then where you can put it at to start out the next time you race, to go back to your baseline or whatever. So that helped a ton. We finally bought one, and we bought one when I started traveling around, because once I got my car good, Roaring Knob, I went to Dog Hollow one night, and the track it slowed down a ton. And we sucked. I mean, we were horrible, So that was when I kind of knew that, okay, I need to start, looking into this, and I need to get better and just, learn these cars. And I'm telling you, I've learned so much from just Mason and Mark, and just going to racetracks and just, watching people and see what they do and everything. So I've learned a lot, and it helps a ton having the smasher. But like you saying about help, though, with just them, it's still hard, I mean, I don't expect them to, get under there and change gears and, grease the car and maintenance and all that and things like that. But they do put fuel in and do tires and stuff, and it helps a ton. And as long as I just tell them what tires I want to run, or what we're putting on, they do it. And then I tell them, to leave whatever off if I need to be, they're on the race car adjusting. They do so. But no, they're a big help. I mean, I probably couldn't do it myself without any help at all. It'd be really hard because, and I always said this, is the more help you have, the easier it is to win races, because the more the driver can focus on the racetrack, it means a lot. And when you have somebody that's a shock guy, so to say, it really helps, because the driver can just get out and he can focus on what he needs to do to win the race at the end of the night. So it is easier, I will say, but for right now, I'm okay with doing the shocks and driving the car. As long as they take care of pretty much everything else, we're good. So
now we got to learn how to do shocks.
You're both smart women. You'll be able to grasp it real fast, I'm sure. It'll keep you out of the dirt too.
I never knew anything about stagger, and never used a buffer or never with spacers and just different things like that. You learn so much whenever you're, I mean, and we ask questions that he probably thinks are dumb because he knew the answer, and I mean, he's been around it, but we ask and he's patient and he explains and teaches and we learn and we work together and we somehow make it work. And I remember one time we were up in New York, I believe, I don't know if it was State Line or it was a track up north, and Michael he was leading and got a flat, and we ran down, and me and Julie helped Mike change the tire, his dad, because not a lot of us, traveled. It's hard to commit to doing that. And then a couple laps later, we rushed back up, and
everyone's probably wondering why we are just keep running off the track.
Ryan got
change tires.
And then Ryan got a flat tire, and we were like, I looked at her, I was like, are you serious right now? So that we ran back down again and changed the tire, and I'm telling you, we get quicker and quicker every time. But we all three know what the other person needs without even asking usually, and it flows and it works, and we're getting better each time. So
2 more quick questions for you. You mentioned earlier, Ryan, you went to the number 17. If my memory is correct, that was your dad's number?
The number of his truck, yeah.
Yeah, it was my dad's. It was my dad's number, and he never raced, but actually, another racer that I raced with, he was helping me one night, or we were hanging out, and we were talking about the number 11, and I just, I said, I don't know, just stuck it on there one Saturday. It was her number. I just said, let's just put number 11F on there, and then I kind of thought about it. I was like, well, I think 17 would be something different, and just, me and my dad, we were really close, so it's something I really wanted to do. I didn't even really tell anybody that I was going to do it. I just kind of kept it to myself, and I told Bobby Naraka that does my decals about it that I was going to be changing it, and so he knew about it. But I kind of wanted to just change it and everybody just kind of see it, and whenever I went racing, and my family didn't know actually up until I think I decaled the car, and when I decaled it, they seen it, when they went up there. And but no, it's just glad I did it. Wish I didn't have to. I wish he was still here. Obviously, it's a lot harder. I love racing. I'm gonna race as long as I can. But it was a lot easier. It's tough driving to the track and racing and just doing all. If I have to change, if I go to a new racetrack I've never been, especially if we're doing like hot laps and qualifying, it's tough. If you don't know what gear you want or need. You come back from hot laps and you got to change it real quick. We were on a tour. All those New York tracks we've never been to, including Michael, and I know Braden and them, they never been to them either. So we just kind of put a gear in we thought would be close to what we needed. And I mean, 10 points is a good bit. So, and you can be off on gear and it can hurt you. So, I would come back in sometimes, and if I had to get the car a lot better and really change more than one thing, then my dad would help me with the gear, and I would do the shocks, and so that helped a lot. My dad, he didn't care too much. He cared, but he wasn't too hard on me with racing, but he didn't race, and that's why. But so he didn't really know anything, and I didn't know anything at first, but I finally started catching on and learning. But no, it was a big help. I'm glad I changed to 17 now. I like it, and kind of changed the look up a little bit. I always liked how Bobby did he just doesn't do a full wrap. Everybody does wraps anymore. I like some wraps, but I like to be different. Like, I like my bodies to look different than everybody, and just my decals. And I even tell him when he does it, he knows that I want something different. I just tell him, he'll ask me, I just tell him make it look nice, make it look different. So try to be a little bit different, just to stand out a little bit, I guess. But no, that's how I changed the number. His history that he drove actually for a long time. His number was 17 on it, and so I switched it to 17.
And Ryan is now getting my dad's truck restored, and will be driving it once it's finished. So
that's awesome.
Maybe you'll get to see it when we get it finished.
That is awesome. What does the future hold? Do you want to stay in the crates, or you want to take the family team up to supers, or?
I would say if I had a little bit more help. Super racing, you have a little bit more maintenance. You have to worry about and do. And cutting tire, a super tire, you have a lot more cutting and grooving, siping, whatever you have to do every week. You go through more tires. There's more involved in cutting a tire with a super late than there's a crate car, because most of the time when we run our fast track tires, you're not allowed to groove or sight, which I like because I don't have a lot of help to do that. So it's a little easier on me. But if I had more help, and you know, I had a little bit more, just sponsors. I have, everybody, and most of us have sponsors, but you know, with the cost of everything, unless I had some help along the way, it might be a while. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it without it, but with the cost of motors with super late model racing, especially now with the cost of them, and I'm not gonna go I'm not gonna go buy a super late motor that's not able to go run at a 5/8 mile like Pittsburgh, just because if I buy a super late model motor, I want to be able to go race wherever, whenever, wherever the rain's not at. I don't want to be dedicated to small racetracks because I don't have enough motor to compete with them. So one day, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, you want to come drive my car one night?" I probably would. So until then, I'll probably still race crates, but I would love to race super late models. I mean, one day I feel like if I had the backing to do it, or if I had the chance to get in somebody's car, I could jump in. It wouldn't take long. I would get into the feel of things with it, but I've never even got to drive one. But hopefully one day I will. It would be pretty cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate, first of all, you guys taking time out of your vacation to go for a ride. This has been very informative. I always thought, Ryan, that 11 came because you were 11 when you started racing.
That too, actually. I was 11, and I said, well, 11, just stick 11 on there. It didn't really matter.
It sounds better with Jolie's number and you were honoring her,
More sentimental, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know what? It's awesome to see, and I'm sure that your dad is smiling down from heaven, just seeing how you guys are all doing this as a family, and your mom's there every week, Grandma, Dozer, the head of security's there almost every week. And you know what? If nothing else, you're keeping it a family event, and that's truly awesome, guys.
Yeah, my mom, she does a lot too. When I come in, she'll get a scraper, and she'll start scraping the mud off. Pretty much all she does on the car, but it's a big help because the track's really muddy. It gets a lot of mud underneath, and she'll sit under there for half an hour if she has to, and she doesn't get impatient with it. She gets 99% of it off anyway, and it helps a ton. So yeah, I'm just very fortunate to have them, and God I do, but more help would be better. But what I have is enough for now, and I get by, and we're still winning races.
Hey, Ryan, real fast before I let you go, you mentioned about your sponsors. Let's go ahead and mention each one of them right now, please.
Yeah, definitely Ryan Frazee Trucking, G&H Trucking, Mason Ziegler and his team for all the help, Mark Smith Shock Therapy, Edward Fields Recycling and Salvage, Napa Auto Parts, Blade Pipeline Services, Schaefer Transfer and Moving, Monet by Jenna Frazee, K. Smitley Trucking, Gary's Auto Sales. He helps me a ton. I can't thank him enough. Just everybody that's a part of my racing, Penske Racing Shocks, Ingram Engines, Mike Ingram, Rocket Chassis. So just everybody that helps me, I appreciate it.
And let's not forget your pit crew: Mom, Jenna, Julie, Dozier,
The whole
Grandma.
family. Yeah, my family for sure, for being there when they can and helping me out. Means a lot.
They give up every Saturday night and Friday night to go spend time with you, and that just says a lot about the dedication that they have for you, Ryan. And
That's
right. You guys are all truly blessed to have each other. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Howie.
In stereo, I like that. Have a good night. Race fans, that's going to conclude another Ride Along with Howie, sponsored by Joe's Body Shop and Towing, Specialty Metals, K2 Engineering, Rock Auto, DJS Swag, Seal Tight, Stone & Company, Vinyl Destination, SMB Promotions, and for those of you who are looking for a job, Don't forget, General Cartwright is hiring. They offer benefits and competitive wages. And please, support those who support racing. And remember, we'll see you this Saturday at the races.